Hello everybody, we're back to go ahead and disassemble this Acer tablet. We're going to go ahead and do a screen replacement on it. So a couple of tools you're going to need. I like to use a few playing cards to help us keep the top from hearing us remove the screen. A Phillips screwdriver, a couple of spudgers, this iSesamo spudger tool here. I think that's an amazing tool. Guitar pick or possibly a few more. And a couple of suction cups to help us out and get started on this. You see that we definitely have a crack right down the middle and some extra cracking along one of the sides there. So we need to make sure we go ahead and replace the entire front panel. This is fused together, so it's going to be an LCD glass combo, much like you'd see on a Galaxy phone. We'll also need a heat gun to heat up the edges of the device to peel off the double-sided tape. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and start by removing the back, starting by one of the openings near the, basically the HDMI port or the USB port or the SD card port. I mean, you can use this as an opening spot to slide your tool in and just hit those clips down the side. I actually just powered it back on, unfortunately. You want to make sure you remove all of your, if you have an SD card in it, make sure you remove that beforehand. I'm just going to go around the sides and release the clips. Basically, only the right-hand side has the clips. The left-hand side just has some, basically some, like hinge portions. So once you unclip half, you can just kind of open it like a book and then remove it. So here's all the internals. You can see the big battery right in the middle. A couple of screen connectors here. We have the touch screen, which is the large orange cable at the bottom. And then we have the LCD connection, which is basically up here at the top on the opposite screen, so that's the cable that runs here. So we'll need to remove that. This is the first one I've ever done on these tablets, so I may take me a second or two to mess around with it to see what's going on here. We're just going to remove this tape here and look at this cable and see how it attaches. Looks like it just has one of those tab sockets on it. Just being careful as we remove this tape. We want to try to reuse it if possible. There's some Captain tape underneath it as well, that yellow tape there. Looks like it passes pretty easily underneath the frame here. So just using a spudger pry tool to pop up the connector here. And let's go ahead and pull out the ribbon cable. Looks like there is a little bit of adhesive on the side here. It's kind of preventing us from pulling the cable back. So let's go ahead and lift that up. Being very gentle with the cable, just wiggling the pry tool back and forth, getting it to loosen for us. Alright, just like that. And there you can see that there's a little zip socket here as well. We can just go ahead and pull the tab up. That'll let us go ahead and remove that cable so we don't damage it. We'll need that to make sure the display works. A little bit of a foam piece in there we want to make sure we keep on as well. Go ahead and set that aside. Do the same thing with this tab socket here. Now if you do want to remove the battery, basically what you have to do is undo this connector here. Pull the cable out, and that'll let you replace the battery. There's a camera. There's a little push connector here as well we can undo if we want to replace the camera. Now you want to be careful of these pull-up socket connectors. Make sure you know exactly which way they're going to lift. They're pretty fragile and you can break them fairly easy. So just being very careful to pry this one up. It is stuck down with some tape. So we're just going to be gentle and pry it off the board. See this adhesive right here underneath. Just wiggle our spudger around underneath it and help us pry it up. Just going to pull back on it and make sure that we get it nice and clear. Looks like this tape can come off. We can actually leave the tape down actually, so we're just going to put that back down on the logic board there. Looks like that just holds the cable down. Alright. Basically going to heat up the entire edge of the device here. Use our spudger and pry tools to get underneath it. A couple of playing cards as well. Those work great because they're pretty stiff but nice and thin. Those won't damage your bezel at all. And it looks like this one's going to have a lot of tape. There's a lot of surface area on this around the edges to tape down, so it's probably going to be fairly difficult to actually remove. The more tape there is, the harder it gets. Just going to get our heat gun here, get it warmed up. Now if this is your first time doing this, you may want to actually use a infrared thermometer to see if you're getting it too hot. You don't want to melt the bezel. We're going to get a few more guitar picks here. Looking at this, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a trick to get off. Basically, it's going to go in a circle pattern and warm the entire thing up. Now the goal is you want to get it hot enough to remove or make the adhesive more pliable, but you don't want to melt the bezel. This is a plastic bezel on this device, so you want to be nice and careful when you do this. I'm just going to go around in a circle with the heat gun. I'm holding it about a ½ inch off. You don't want to stay in place for too long. This will really heat it up. You can melt the plastic frame underneath it and actually bend it trying to remove the glass off of it, so you want to be slightly careful. Now, like I was saying, this is the first time I've removed this one, so it'll probably be a little bit longer video trying to get it off, see what the best method turns out to be. Now it is a working display, so I want to save the display underneath if I can. So start with one of our suction cups here in the corner. Just going to try to pry it a little bit, see if we can't get a gap going on the side here. Take a playing card, see if we can't slide it on in there. See, there's a little bit of a gap here. This is a good way to get it started in the removal process without having to use anything that's extremely big and metal. Although I may have to use the Disassembly tool on this. There is a lot of adhesive underneath this thing. Work my way around so I can't create a little bit of a gap. Give it more heat. Doesn't look like it got hot enough. You will need to reapply heat a few times during this process. Depending on how long it takes to get off, you may have to do it 10 plus times. Doing some little circle motions, try to heat up the entire large black portion here. There we go. We made some progress with this card here. This will help us kind of hold it and stand it off a little bit. Get this gap going. Now it does get a little bit stuck. Just try to move it back and forth like in a sawing motion. Sometimes that'll help free the playing card a little bit. Use a guitar pick here. Now that we got it started, this will be great to help the glass not re-adhere itself. If you lose heat and you have to heat it back up, you don't want to heat the adhesive back up to the point where it's going to re-stick down. You have to do all that work over. So I would suggest using something like guitar pick or playing cards to make sure it doesn't re-adhere itself back to the mid-frame. We're going to heat up this side, work our way down this side of the device. Try our playing card again. Perfect. Now usually where there's a crack, it can be a little bit difficult to pass by. We can see we just passed by one right there. That's why I use the playing card instead of the guitar pick. It's a little bit easier, doesn't hold as much resistance when trying to remove it. Trying to make sure I got all of the adhesive further in. Now one thing that you will notice about this device when you are removing it is it does actually have kind of a step in it where the LCD hits. If you're looking to save the display, the LCD portion, you want to be careful not to push it in too far. It's most likely you're getting this hot enough to melt the optical clear adhesive. And if you push that playing card too far in, you could actually start to separate the glass from the LCD. So get it nice and warm. Use our playing card here again to get us started. See right here where it's cracked, it's a little bit tricky. I'm trying to use this tire puller here that I have to get between the crack. The next set, let's try to wiggle this in here. There we go. Try a new card. That transition makes it tough. Sometimes it'll scratch or rip the card since the glass is nice and sharp. Having a little bit of trouble here getting past this, so I just cut this into a straight portion here rather than a rounded edge with some scissors, and that did the trick for us. Just use this guitar pick here to help stand it off. It's a little bit thicker. Try this thinner guitar pick here. We'll go ahead and heat up this last side of the device here. Get it nice and warm. Like I was saying, if you want to use an infrared thermometer, try not to hit it above about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Hotter than that could start to melt your bezel. Let's see if I can't start to pull up on this a little bit now that we have all of the sides removed. Use our guitar pick here. Let's see if we can't start prying it up just a little bit. So I'm just wiggling this guitar pick back and forth to see if it's going to go ahead and pull this glass panel off for us. You'll usually feel exactly where it's still adhered at, and you can move your guitar picks around and try to free it up a little bit. A little bit tricky. I'm starting to wonder if there's some adhesive on the LCD on the back. So I thought I freed up everything here. It feels good. It looks like there's a little bit right here still. There's our cable. I just don't want to damage it since it's still a working display. Just twist this and try to get it to pop up for us. So I'm making progress. You can see that we got a lot of it coming up here. Still, this doesn't want to pop off for us. So again, it's going around and making sure that we have all the adhesive pulled up. Starting to really think there's some adhesive behind this panel, so I'm going to go ahead and heat it up and see if that'll make it a little bit more pliable for us. Alright, let's go ahead and just try here again. So basically I'm putting my guitar picks underneath the glass and the display portions. And right here, yep, there's definitely some adhesive behind there. I got part of it popped up, just trying to take a peek in there and see. Sometimes on the back of the displays there's some double-sided copper adhesive. That's my guess is what's happening here. They use it for cooling. So I'm just going to take my cards and try to find the spots where it's on there. Let's go ahead and pull it back. Kind of use a sawing motion. Be very gentle as I pull this. It looks like it's still got a little bit of there we go. The card in there. Now you can see a little bit of that copper adhesive just right there. Just looking inside of it to see where it's at. So now I've got it to the point where I can just kind of pull it slowly off. See the adhesive start to pull away. If it doesn't want to, you can use a thinner, longer spudger like this one here. And just kind of twist it on the tape that's behind it. That'll help it just pull off without breaking the display. Now, if this is a non-working LCD, I wouldn't care. I would just pull it off. It doesn't necessarily matter if we break it or not, but since this one's still working, we're just going to be a little bit more gentle with it. There we go. So you can see that we ripped part of the tape here. There's the two other pieces of tape that I was struggling with. That's where you're going to see the resistance on the back of the display when you try to remove it. Now, if you were to, looks like if you were to take the battery out of this device, you could go ahead and peel this copper tape back off of the display. Might save you the time. We'll go ahead and re-put that down when we put our new display on. So now that we have the display removed, the next step is to go around and clear up all of this adhesive that's still stuck down here, this double-sided tape that's around the edge. People will try to reuse this tape, and I've noticed over time it'll go ahead and just peel right back up. So I would just go ahead and remove all of this tape off of it. This little piece of tape here from the display as well, let's go ahead and slide it back underneath. Now, there's a few easy ways to remove this tape. You could use some alcohol, or you could use some extra heat. I'll just usually just pull it right off in chunks. Use a metal spudger or something to go ahead and remove it. The goal is to get this as clean as possible. Any leftover glue or tape would cause the display to kind of pull up and pull off of the midframe. So just go ahead and take your time and clean all of this off. Now, if you want to watch the reassembly video of the glass, I'll go ahead and post part 2 down in the description. As always, I appreciate you watching the video. If you found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments. I'll do my best to get to them. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.